Hi, this is NextGen Picks. There's a very specific kind of disappointment that comes with buying a TV. I've felt it. You've probably felt it too. You grab a set that looked amazing under those blinding warehouse lights, colors exploding off the screen. You mount it on your wall, sit back, crack open a drink, and then it hits you. You throw on a dark scene from the Batman, and suddenly you can't see half of it because your living room lamp is reflecting dead center on the panel. Or the motion feels weirdly slippery, like everything's been dipped in soap opera mode. Here's the problem. In 2026, TV manufacturers have become terrifyingly good at hiding weaknesses. They toss around phrases like motion accelerator or effective refresh rate to distract from the reality that you just paid good money for a slow, stutter-prone panel. And it drives me insane because spec sheets aren't just confusing anymore. They're straight-up deceptive. So I'm done playing nice. I've hauled the top 5 55-inch TVs of the year into the studio. Everything from budget Hisense models to premium OLEDs, and stripped the marketing away to see which ones actually survive real-world use. If you want honest, no-filter testing that puts your wallet ahead of their stock price, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to NextGen Picks. It keeps this channel independent and it helps me keep buying these things so you don't have to. Let's get into it. The landscape has shifted. If you're shopping for a TV right now, you need to understand one fundamental truth. The gap between cheap and premium isn't what it used to be. 3 years ago, if you spent $700 bucks, you were getting a plastic toy that ghosted every time a quarterback threw a football. Today, that same money buys you tech that was reserved for $3,000 flagships in 2024. But, and there is always a but with these companies, the trap has moved. It's not about the panel technology anymore. It's about the processing. It's about the software. It's about buying a TV that looks amazing on paper, but feels like a broken tablet when you try to change the volume. We are in the era of the spec sheet war, of the manufacturers know you're looking for keywords. 4K, 120 Hz, VRR, mini LED. So they jam all those features into budget panels, but they cut corners on the stuff they don't put on the box. The processor, the upscaling chip that makes your cable news look like 4K instead of a fuzzy mess. The quality control, that's where the bodies are buried. Which brings me to the elephant in the room, the U75QG. This TV is making a lot of noise online, and for good reason. You're seeing prices floating between $650 and $750 depending on the week, and on paper this thing is a beast. It's insulting really to the big guys. You've got mini LED backlighting, a claimed peak brightness that rivals the sun, and a 144 Hz refresh rate that screams gamer. Let's look at the reality. I hooked this up to a PS5 and a high-end PC rig. In game mode, the U75QG is honestly, it's stupidly good for the money. The input lag is virtually non-existent. We're talking under 6 milliseconds at high refresh rates. If you're playing Call of Duty or Fortnite, you are not going to blame the TV for missing your shot. The mini LEDs do a fantastic job of keeping the blacks deep without crushing the shadow detail too much. It's punchy, it's vibrant, it demands your attention. But here's the gotcha, and you need to listen to this part before you click buy. It's called the panel lottery. See those faint smudges on the gray screen? That's called dirty screen effect, or DSE. Because Hisense is pushing these panels out so fast and so cheap, the uniformity isn't always perfect. When you're watching a movie with a lot of cuts, you won't notice it. But watch a hockey game. Watch a golf tournament. When the camera pans across a solid white or green surface, you might see these faint, dirty patches staying still while the image moves behind them. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Also, while the Google TV interface is my favorite platform, it's clean. It aggregates your content well. The processor inside the U75QG is just okay. It's not slow, but it's not instant. You click, it thinks for a split second, then it goes. It's a reminder that this is a budget chassis with a Ferrari engine strapped to it. So, is it a buy? If you're a gamer on a budget or you just want the biggest, brightest picture for under $800, absolutely. It destroys everything else in this price bracket. Just buy it from a place with a good return policy like Amazon or Best Buy, just in case you lose that panel lottery and get a bad unit. Before we move on to the TV that actually solves that uniformity problem, I need your help. The market is moving so fast. Are you guys more interested in these high-value budget monsters? Or do you want me to focus on the ultra-premium money is no object theater screens? Drop a comment below. Tell me, budget or flagship? It seriously helps me plan the testing schedule for the next couple of months. Now, if that Hisense feels a little too much like a gamble for you, or if your living room has windows that basically act like spotlights during the day, you need to look at the TCL QM7K. This is the step up. We're talking about a price jump, usually hovering around $900 to $1,000, but you are paying for consistency. The brightness on this thing is aggressive. I measured peaks over 2500 nits in HDR windows. To put that in perspective, most movie theaters give you about 100 nits. This TV is 25 times brighter than a cinema screen. If you watch football on Sunday afternoons with the blinds open, this is the TV that wins the fight against the sun. The reflection handling is solid. It doesn't diffuse light as well as the high-end Samsungs we'll get to later, but it powers through it with brute force. TCL has also refined their local dimming algorithms. Remember blooming? That halo of light you see around bright subtitles in a dark movie? It's almost gone here. The zone count is high enough that the TV can shut off the backlight behind the black bars while blasting light for the explosion in the center. It's impressive. It's not OLED perfect. You'll still see a tiny bit of haze if you look for it from a sharp angle, but from the couch, it looks incredible. The downside, it's built like a tank, and not in the sexy way. It's thick. The plastic feels a bit industrial, and similar to Hisense, TCL's out-of-the-box color accuracy leans a bit cool, a bit blue. You're going to want to switch it to movie or filmmaker mode immediately to stop everyone looking like they have hypothermia. But for a bright room mixed usage family TV, this is the current heavyweight champion of the sub-1000 category. And this is a massive but, neither of those TVs can do what this next one does. If you're watching in a dark room, a basement, a dedicated man cave, a bedroom at night, brightness isn't king. Contrast is. And that is where we leave the LED world behind and step into the realm of self-emissive pixels. I'm talking, of course, about the LG C5. This is the successor to the most popular high-end TV of the last 5 years. And every year people ask me, NextGen Pix, is it actually different? Did they actually change anything, or is it just a new model number? I'll be honest, usually the answer is no. But this year, they tweaked something that matters. They finally addressed the brightness gap. The C5 is using LG's latest evolution of the OLED panel. It's hitting peaks around 1,200 nits now. Is that as bright as the TCL? No, not even close. But because the pixel next to the bright spot can turn completely off, true absolute black, the perceived contrast is higher. The image looks deeper. It looks 3D. When you play a game like God of War or Cyberpunk on this, and you walk into a dark cave with a torch, the cave is pitch black. The torch is blinding. It's an emotional experience that many LEDs still can't quite replicate. And for my gamers, this is still the gold standard for compatibility. 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. Every single port supports 4K at 144 Hz. You can plug in a PS5, an Xbox, a PC, and a soundbar. And you don't have to swap cables. It just works. The VRR implementation is buttery smooth. No tearing, no stutter. However, we have to talk about the fear burn-in. Is it solved in 2026? Mostly yes. The compensation cycles and heat dissipation tech have gotten so good that unless you are watching CNN for 12 hours a day at max brightness, you probably won't see it. But the risk isn't zero. If you are a news junkie with a static ticker on the bottom of the screen all day, stick to the TCL or Hisense. Do not buy an OLED. I repeat, do not buy an OLED. If you leave static news channels on all day, you are burning money. And then there's the software. WeOS 26. Look, LG, we need to talk. The interface is snappy, sure, but the ads, it's getting ridiculous. I turned this thing on, and half the home screen was suggesting I rent a movie I've never heard of or buy a washing machine. You can turn some of it off in the deep settings, and I strongly suggest you do, but it's a nagging reminder that you don't fully own the hardware anymore. So the C5 is the safe bet. It's the Toyota Camry of the TV world. If the Camry could go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, it's reliable, it's beautiful, it does everything well. But what if you want more? What if you want the colors to literally explode off the screen? What if you want the best of both worlds? OLED contrast with mini LED brightness. That's where we get into the exotic stuff. The stuff that hurts your wallet but heals your soul. We need to talk about QD-OLED, and specifically the Samsung S95F. And folks, this is where the controversy starts because Samsung did something to the screen this year that has the internet absolutely divided. It's matte. Samsung took their flagship QD-OLED, arguably the most colorful, vibrant panel technology on Earth, and they coated it in a heavy anti-glare matte finish. Now, if you're a PC gamer, you might be nodding your head. You're used to matte monitors. It kills reflections dead. I put this S95F in a room with a floor-to-ceiling window at high noon, and I could actually see the game on the glossy LG C5. I would have been staring at a reflection of my own face, squinting. But here's the trade-off. And for some of you, this is going to be a deal breaker. In a pitch black room, that matte coating disperses a tiny bit of ambient light across the panel. It raises the black floor just a hair. It doesn't look like that infinite wet ink black you get from a glossy OLED. It looks like a painting. Some people love that artistic look. It's easier on the eyes. But if you are a purist chasing that glossy pop, you might hate it. It's a polarizing choice. That said, the color's unmatched because this uses quantum dots without a white subpixel tech speak for pure RGB light. The reds and greens are nuclear. A Ferrari in a movie looks like red, not orange red. It makes the LG look a little washed out by comparison in high brightness scenes. And for my PC gamers, this panel runs at 165 Hz natively. It is shockingly fast. But then Samsung does the Samsung thing. They still refuse to support Dolby Vision. I'm serious, it's 2026. Every major streaming service, Netflix, Disney, Max, uses Dolby Vision as their premium HDR standard. When you watch those apps on this $2,000 TV, you are getting the standard HDR10 version. Is it a massive difference? No. The TV is smart enough to tone map it beautifully, but it's the principle. You are paying top dollar and getting locked out of the industry standard because of a corporate grudge. It's annoying. And don't get me started on Tizen OS. It's cluttered. It's confusing. Finding the game mode settings takes 3 more clicks than it should. You buy this TV for the hardware, not the software. So, if the Samsung is the rebellious, flashy teenager, this next TV is the adult in the room, the Sony Bravia 82. Now look at the price tag. It's usually hovering right around that same premium mark, sometimes $100 more than the LG. And on the spec sheet, it looks worse. It only has 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, not 4. It's not as bright as the Samsung. So, why does it exist? You buy the Sony for the brain. The XR processor inside this thing is basically magic. If you watch a lot of cable news, sports on YouTube TV, or older movies that aren't in 4K, the Sony is the only TV that truly cleans them up. It removes the noise without making everyone look like wax figures. It restores the texture. It's subtle, but after watching a football game on a Sony, everything else looks a little bit digital. The motion handling is also reference class. You know how sometimes in a movie a car drives by and it judders, or the TV tries to smooth it out and the car looks like it's floating? Sony nails that middle ground. It preserves the cinematic look of 24 frames per second better than anyone. Plus, the screen is the speaker. Actuators vibrate the glass panel. So when a character on the left side of the screen talks, the sound actually comes from their mouth, not from a speaker firing into your carpet. It's a cool trick, and it means if you don't have a soundbar, this is the best sounding TV out of the box. Period. But, and here's the reality check, if you're a hardcore gamer, the Sony is frustrating. Only having 2 high-speed HDMI ports means if you have a PS5, an Xbox, and a soundbar, you're already out of slots. You're juggling cables. For a TV this expensive, that feels stingy. It's a cinema-first TV that tolerates gaming, whereas the LG and Samsung are built for it. So we've got the budget disruptor, the heavyweight, the cinema snob, the exotic color king, and the cinema reference. It's a mess of choices, but if I had to spend my own money right now, if my TV broke today and I had to walk into a store, there's one clear winner and one clear avoid. So we've covered the disruptors, the heavyweights, and the cinema snobs. And I know your brain is probably melting a little bit. NextGen picks, just tell me what to buy, I got you. Let's break this down by who you are, not by what the sticker says. If you have a bright living room, I'm talking windows without blackout curtains, and you mostly watch sports or cable TV during the day, buy the TCL QM7K. It is a light cannon. It fights the sun and wins. The processing is solid and you won't have to squint to see the puck. If you're a PC gamer or you just want the most visually arresting, my friends will be jealous picture quality, get the Samsung S95F. That matte QD-OLED screen is weird. It's controversial, but my God, the colors are something else. Just be prepared to fight with the menus. If you watch old movies, DVDs, or low-quality streams, and you care about motion-looking film-like, pay the extra cash for the Sony Bravia 82. It's the only TV that respects the director's intent right out of the box without you needing a calibration degree. But before I give you the two winners, I need to give you the warning, the avoid list. Do not, and I mean this, do not buy the entry-level 60 Hz models from the big brands, the Samsung Crystal UHDs, the LG UR series. In 2026, these are traps. They cost $400 or $500, which sounds cheap until you realize the Hisense U75QG is only $200 more and destroys them. The entry-level big brands are edge-lit. They have gray blacks and they stutter. They are e-waste with a famous logo on them. Leave them on the shelf. Which brings us to the winners, the best value. It's the Hisense U75QG. Is it perfect? No. You might lose the panel lottery and get a dirty screen, but for the price, it is insulting to the competition. You are getting 90% of a flagship experience for 40% of the cost. If you're on a budget, this is the only TV that matters. The best overall, it's the LG C5. It's boring to say it. I wanted to pick something else, but it just works. It plays nice with your Xbox. It looks incredible for movies. The software is stable and it's glossy and premium. It is the set it and forget it king of 2026. One final truth bomb before you go. You're going to see a lot of headlines this year about micro-LED and 8K AI upscaling. Ignore them. Truly, the tech industry is hitting a plateau. The difference between a 2024 OLED and a 2026 OLED is maybe 10%. Don't wait for the next big thing, because right now the next big thing is just marketing fluff to justify a price hike. The tech we have right now today is likely as good as it's going to get for the consumer market for another 3 years. So stop waiting. Buy the TV that fits your room and enjoy the movie. If this saved you from buying a lemon, hit that like button. I've dropped links to the specific model numbers I tested below, and I keep those updated because sometimes these brands quietly swap the panels on us halfway through the year. Those links are the safe path to the right hardware. This is NextGen Picks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next.